Hi! Almost exactly a year ago to the day, I made a video that was about my particular method of reading books and taking notes in books when I want to read deeply into those books. Today I'm going to redo that video a little bit to make it less applicable to my own personal reading journey and more applicable to you if you happen to be interested in reading critically or reading a book for a literature course. So I'm going to be giving you 6 tips and tricks for your own critical reading, and I'm going to be using Emma as an example book as I go. So the first tip is an obvious one, and that is to understand if you want to do this right, you will need to read this book more than once. At the very least, you'll need to be prepared to go back over important passages and actually reread them several times and to read them really deeply. Secondly, and this is one that might be a little bit controversial, is to understand the themes that are talked about in the book before you start reading. Reading a book critically can often feel like you're wading through very deep mud, especially if you don't know what it is that you're looking for, which is why it can be really helpful to find a basic outline of the themes and topics that are prevalent in the book before you start reading it. This doesn't mean that you're getting spoilers or finding out the plotline of the whole book. It also doesn't mean that you're finding all of the important quotes without looking for them for yourself. It simply means that you're getting an idea of the topics that the book touches on so that you know to keep an eye out for them as you read. For example, with Emma, the kind of themes that you would be looking for is of course the concept of marriage, in particular how that relates to social status and how it relates to power. You would also be looking at communication and in particular miscommunication or misinterpretation of communication, and you would be looking at the concept of women and their roles in society as a whole. Thirdly, remember to take notes of the passages that you come across that match those themes as you go, rather than trying to remember them once you reach the end of the book. This is where color coding can come in handy, because you can assign a particular color to each of the topics that you know to look out for and use them to mark off passages that seem to relate to those topics and themes as you find them throughout your reading. How you choose to take the notes that you do is entirely up to you, whether you simply sticky note, whether you write notes in a journal, whether you voice record them, or whether you write them in the book itself. Doesn't really matter as long as you are reading actively and taking the notes down as you read through the book. Tip number 4. It's not enough to simply mark out the passages and color code them as you are reading through the book when you come across them. You also need to take some time to think about the passage that you have just marked and how it relates to the theme in question. So questions that you need to be asking yourself as you read through the book is, what does this have to say about the theme or topic in question? Does it seem to have a point of view, and if so, what is the point of view that it's trying to get across? For example, in Emma, there is a point where Emma herself says, "I have none of the usual inducements of women to marry." And it raises the question of what might it be that Jane Austen herself is saying through Emma as a character about her own opinion of the reasons why women married at the point in history that we're talking about. What does this imply about how Jane Austen feels about the concept of marriage as a tool for social advancement or as a tool for exerting your own social status? Those are the kind of questions that if you were reading Emma when you got to that point, you would be writing down and trying to answer for yourself. So tip number 5, once you've finished your book, separate your notes into the particular themes or topics that you're looking for and have a look at all of those notes as a whole. Hopefully this will help you find some kind of bigger picture of what exactly the book might be trying to say, or what it is that the author is trying to say about the particular theme or topic in question. And that really is all that critical reading is about. It's trying to paint the bigger picture of the theme or topic in general and how the author has aligned themselves with that theme or topic through the book that they are writing. Finally, and sometimes most importantly, it's extremely important to understand the context of the book when and as it was written, because as John Green would say, a text is nothing without context. So this means understanding the author's own life and perhaps experiences in their life that might help give you hints as to what their particular opinion about a theme or topic is. Understanding the historical context and the cultural context of the book when it was written. For example, in Emma, it's important to understand the societal context that this book is aligning itself with. In particular, the period in English history when it is set, the gender and class divides that occurred in society at the time. All of these are incredibly relevant to the themes and topics that are touched on within Emma, and the ways in which the actual story and characters and plotline of Emma relate with those particular themes and topics. So that is it. Those are my 6 main tips for reading a book critically and trying to get particular meaning out of a book as you are reading it. It does help if you read the book more than once, but these tips will also help you just to get as much information out of one reading as possible. Good luck with your reading. I will see you in some other video very shortly, I am sure, and until then, as always, stay classic.
Sit there and count your fingers.